Welcome to the podcast summary of 2008-09 Michigan Wolverines men's basketball team. This episode is about a Michigan basketball season that felt bigger than the record. In 2008 and 2009, the Wolverines didn't just go from 10 wins to 21 and get back to the NCAA tournament. They pulled a scandal-scarred program back into national relevance. What makes it interesting is how they did it. A guard-heavy John Beilein system, a roster held together with patience and improvisation, a couple of huge upsets over UCLA and Duke, and a team that could look brilliant one night and maddeningly streaky the next. The turnaround mattered because Michigan was only in its first season off scholarship probation after the basketball scandal. This wasn't just a normal rebuild. The team adopted the phrase "queme los barcos," or burn the ships, and it fit. No fallback plan, no looking back. Just commit to the thing in front of you. That had extra weight at Michigan, where the program was still barred from associating with implicated former players until 2012. So even while the team was improving, the school was still living with the aftershocks of the past. Michigan started the season unranked, got no preseason poll votes at all, climbed into the AP top 25 by December, and ended up with a number 10 seed in the tournament. That's a real restoration story. Not just a cute little bounce-back year. Beilein built this team around guards and spacing, often playing four guards with DeShawn as the only real front-court player. It was compact, skilled, and a little unconventional for the Big Ten at the time. Almost half of Michigan's shots were threes, around 48%, which tells you everything about the identity. The offense was patient and precise, with ball movement, backdoor cuts, dribble drives, and a lot of defenders getting dragged around screens. When it clicked, it could look beautiful and suddenly lethal. When the shots stopped falling, it could get pretty cold, pretty fast, which is the trade-off with high-variance basketball. They were also careful with the ball, which was a big part of making the whole thing work. If you're going to play small, you'd better not waste possessions. Defensively, Michigan mixed in Beilein's trapping 1-3-1 zone after made baskets and dead balls, then shifted to man-to-man after misses and turnovers, with some 2-3 zone mixed in too. Some kind of zone showed up on about 40% of possessions. The 1-3-1 got used less later in the year, because Michigan didn't really have the ideal long, disruptive wings for it. Even so, it was part of the team's personality and part of why opponents could look uncomfortable. And the numbers were wild. Michigan set Big Ten records with 42 three-point attempts in a game and 912 for the season, made a school record 305 threes, and even had a game against Eastern Michigan, where 9 different players hit from deep, tying a national record. The season really announced itself with that 55-52 win over No. 4 UCLA in November. Michigan forced 17 turnovers with the 1-3-1, came back from 10 down, and snapped a 12-game losing streak against ranked teams. That was their first win over a top 5 team in 11 years, which already would have been enough to get people's attention. Then 2 weeks later, they beat No. 4 Duke 81-73 in a sold-out building, and DeShawn went for a career-high 28 points and 12 rebounds. At that point, Michigan had as many top 5 wins as the rest of the country combined, which is one of those stats that sounds made up until you remember how strange college basketball seasons can get. The catch was that these wins didn't magically turn Michigan into a juggernaut. They went 3-4 against ranked opponents in the regular season and had a stretch where they lost 7 of 9. That inconsistency actually tells you something important about the team. The Wolverines had a very real tactical ceiling, high enough to bother elite teams, but they also lived on a style that could be unforgiving over a long conference season. The roster wasn't exactly built under ideal conditions. Ekpeudo transferred recruit. Robin Benzing didn't meet NCAA initial eligibility requirements, and 7-footer Ben Cronin played 10 minutes total before being redshirted and having hip surgery. So this already small team got even thinner up front, which makes the whole season a little easier to appreciate. Michigan got a needed boost when Laval Lucas Perry became eligible after transferring from Arizona. Late in the year, he scored 19 at Minnesota and hit 3 straight threes in the win that basically locked up Michigan's NCAA spot. The recruiting class didn't arrive with blue-chip shine either. There were no 4- or 5-star prospects, but the team made up for that with depth and role acceptance. 10 players averaged at least 10 minutes a game, and an 11th was right there at 9.6. Fifth-year students, C.J. Lee and David Merritt, also got scholarships, which says a lot about how this roster was put together. Not glamorous, just useful, experienced, and committed. The heart of the team was the pairing of Manny Harris and DeShawn Sims. Harris led Michigan in points, minutes, assists, free throws, free throw percentage, and steals, while Sims led in field goal percentage, rebounds, and blocks. Harris averaged 16.9 points and Sims 15.4, and it really was a partnership. This wasn't one star dragging everybody else along. Sims started the year as a sixth man, moved into the starting lineup, and became Michigan's leading scorer in every regular season win over a ranked opponent. On the biggest nights, he was right in the middle of it. One of the nicest details from the season is after Harris won team MVP, he asked for Sims to be recognized as co-MVP. That tells you how the team itself understood the turnaround. Harris also put together a rare all-around Big Ten season, finishing in the conference's top 10 in scoring, rebounding, and assists. There was even a small stats quirk where different qualification rules made him either the Big Ten or NCAA free throw percentage leader, which is a very college sports kind of argument. Michigan's return to the NCAA tournament came with a tense first win over Clemson, 62-59. The Wolverines led by 16, then watched Clemson rip off a 14-0 run late and turn it into a 1-point game, because apparently nothing could be simple. Still, Michigan held on, and it was their first tournament win since 1998. It was also the program's first NCAA appearance officially recognized as untainted by the scandal-era violations since the 1995 tournament, which gave the moment a lot more emotional weight. The next game against number 2 Oklahoma brought the season's limits into focus. Michigan tried everything it could against Blake Griffin, doubling him, sagging, bumping, rotating bodies at him, and he still finished with 33 points and 17 rebounds. With 4 of Michigan's 5 starters spending much of the night in foul trouble, the Wolverines lost 73-63, and honestly, that result made sense with this roster. A small perimeter team can solve a lot of problems, but a dominant interior force is a different kind of exam. That's the central tension of the whole season. Michigan had rebuilt enough to get back on the stage and win there, but it still wasn't fully equipped for every matchup the sport could throw at it. So the 2008 and 2009 Wolverines weren't a finished product. They were something more interesting than that. Proof that the rebuild was real. They burned the ships, found a style, beat some giants, and made Michigan basketball matter nationally again. For a program coming out of that much wreckage, that's a pretty meaningful place to start. This episode was generated by Podkey. Create your own at podkey.fm.